Many of us have dreams that we want to pursue, but sometimes in order to pursue our dreams, we have to maintain our day jobs alongside of them in order to sustain our living. With me today, I have my friend Stephanie Ohnmacht. Stephanie, glad to have you here today.
Hello, thank you.
And Stephanie, you are in a similar situation where you have a dream that you're pursuing and at the same time have a day job, right?
Yes, I do. I wish I didn't, but I do.
Well, tell us about your dream, please.
So my dream is to have a clothing line that serves and caters to sort of a busy woman, just things that fit, that work, that kind of fit into your lifestyle. And part of the dream the end result of the dream is really having a creative business where I am making sewing goods, right? So I've been sewing since I was 7. When my mom finally allowed me to sew is when I started sewing. You have to be a certain height to be able to reach the go pedal. So
that sounds like a good criteria. So you started at the age of 7, really?
Yeah. So I was little begging, and no, you can't, not yet. So finally, she thought I was old enough or big enough, or I wasn't going to hurt myself, I guess, sewing that. I finally got to sit down and start sewing, and I've been sewing ever since. And I was one of those kids. Well, my mom actually encouraged this bad behavior because if we'd go to the fabric store and I saw something I like, she'd buy it for me. She says, I'll buy you more if you make something with it. So done. I had wanted the next piece of fabric.
Oh, how nice.
So I'd hurry up and make something, and she'd buy me more. And I'm a perfectionist at heart, so just making something that was really well tailored and put together was fun for me. Actually, in 3rd grade, I'd made this really, I still remember, it's one of my favorites, this little polka dot top with top stitching and a button and a buttonhole, which is pretty big when you're in 3rd grade, and a striped skirt thing that went with it. And I so thought I had done such an excellent job on it that the teacher wouldn't know that I had made it.
Okay.
And then, of course, the teacher says, did you make it? And I was like, you weren't supposed to ask me. It was supposed to look so good that you would have thought that it was something you bought. But I was, I was sewing or whatever the case, she knew I had made it. I still think to this day it's probably well made. Maybe it just wasn't quite in style at the time, so she knew I hadn't made it. So that was somewhat disappointing, but I always strive to have it look like something you bought off of a rack. So I was sewing every weekend primarily. That was kind of my getaway from homework or from having to do chores. I grew up on a farm, so if I was in the sewing room, maybe I could get away without having to do a couple of chores.
That's a great way to escape some of the farm work, huh?
Yes, I escaped farm work by sewing. So yeah, I took my sewing machine to college too. I went and got a business degree in finance and marketing at a state school, and probably one of very few people that actually took their sewing machine to college with them. So I just continued sewing, and the dream was I enjoyed creating and being creative. Not so certain I think at the time that I was going to, I'd have a clothing line. After I graduated and started working corporate, I entered a competition. I did really well. People started wanting my custom pieces. I couldn't maintain production on that. I mean, I'm making one piece a week and still working a job. So I knew the only way to actually make money at the business was do multiple pieces, multiple sizes. So that's kind of how it grew organically into what it is now.
Right. So you entered a competition and you had third-party validation from a credible source, I assume, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that started to inspire you to do something more with this passion of yours then.
It did, and I thought maybe I was the only crazy kid in their 20s sewing. And in this competition, actually in a community of folks, creators, designers, who actually are still my friends today. And all of a sudden I realized there was a larger community in the Denver area that was doing the same thing. So that was really enlightening because I thought maybe I was all alone in my age range sewing.
Right.
So that was eye-opening.
But so you were doing the one-off pieces for individuals, the bespoke work for individuals. Where have you gone with it since then?
So I was looking into what it would take to a production, and actually it scared me a bit. Then I would work to source your fabrics and find, get a pattern made that is set up just for a production facility. Those kind of things kind of scared me off. I'm like, I got a day job. This is so intense. There's so many issues with this. But somebody tapped me on the shoulder and essentially pushed me over the cliff and said, hey, will you make me this custom collection? So I made a custom collection for this woman who was going on the road. And she goes, I love it so much. And it was like these mix and match pieces that were very business oriented, that you could, wear 2 of the pieces and add a third, or wear 3 of the pieces and, only 2, and you'd have a new look, or you'd go day to night, all these kind of things. So she pushed me to start producing because she would sell as she was on the road. She'd sell my pieces as she wanted things. So that kind of pushed me really quickly into, I've got to figure this out. I'm going to do it. And otherwise, I probably would have been so too tentative and too knowledgeable to know how crazy the industry is. But it pushed me to go there, figure it out. And that kind of started this whole ready-to-wear thing. That deal in particular fell apart. But then I came at it again on my own about a year later. And that was about 2011. So about 4 years now, I've been pushing my own line.
Your own line. Okay. So what kind of obstacles did you encounter? I mean, you're pursuing your dream. This has been a passion of yours since you were a child. And you've bumped up against, trying to understand how to scale this business, how to get your line out there. What are some of the obstacles you've encountered along the way then?
I realized all the obstacles I would have met and overcame in the past 4 years just in trying to do production. I would still be where I was, 10 years ago and not have done it. It's a different obstacle every day or every week. There's something different that pops up. And as an entrepreneur, anybody listening to this would probably agree that you have no idea what's going to come next. And you just kind of say, all right, here's the obstacle. I'm going to overcome it and I'll figure it out. I mean, my first obstacle was finding somebody who could do production pattern making. The patterns I made, everybody said, oh, no, you have to have somebody who knows production and they're set up differently than a home sewing. And they are. I mean, different seam allowances and different ways of thinking about constructing a garment. So, the only thing in my vision and my sight of things I have to fix right now is finding a pattern maker, right?
Okay.
And I figured that out. Then it was like, well, how do I get the fabric? So you can't just go to the fabric store and buy fabric because if somebody orders 100 of them, the fabric store isn't going to sell you 200 yards or something, right?
Right.
So you have to go to your wholesale guys. And a lot of wholesale fabric or mills or whatever, they only sell certain amounts. I go, so a minimum amount will sell you 300 yards. So then I'm like, but I only need 50 yards. So then you have to dig and find only suppliers who sell 50 yards at a time, right?
Right.
And then you got to find enough of those suppliers to find the fabrics you want for the pieces you have in your head, right?
Oh, man.
You get that. And then, oh, by the way, you need buttons. Well, then you got to go find a guy who will sell you buttons. And they'll answer the phone. And the first word out of your mouth is, so what are your minimums? They'll hang up on you because they know you're too small to deal with if you're asking those questions.
Wow.
So every step along the way, you're like, oh, if I can just get production figured out, life will be easy. Along the way, I figured all of this out. Now I'm up against sales. How do I get sales? And how do I grow sales? All these things, right? How do I get in more boutiques? How do I get to department stores? Like, hopefully someday I figure that out. And then there's going to be financing issues, or there's going to be employee issues, or rent, or, so I just try to think.
So look, I mean, you're talking about a massive amount of obstacles. I mean, just, every step of the way you're bumping up against, that you're too small for some people and yet you're too big for other vendors, to try to achieve that. What makes you move forward? What keeps you motivated? What keeps you making this happen?
Some would call it craziness. It's the passion to make it work. Like I know I can do it, right? I have the confidence to say, if I can just work hard enough, continue doing this, something great will come of it. So it's insanity, really. But it's a passion to see it through. And I've come so far and learned so much, and I want to make it work. So yeah, I don't know, it's insanity, really, but it's been fun.
That's cool. I started the conversation with the statement that sometimes you have to keep your day job going while you're pursuing your passion. Do you still have your day job?
I still have my day job, actually. Because of business, as you've heard of all my obstacles, every one of those obstacles costs money.
Right.
And I'm doing something kind of remote from the big epicenters of fashion. So shipping charges and charges to fly somewhere to go meet somebody to help you out, or to get somebody to pay attention to you, those things. So it costs money, and I'm self-funded. I've used a lot of savings in this process. And without the day job, I would definitely have to quit, just because it takes, I think there's two ways to make it in this industry. Either you have a one-hit wonder product that just takes off instantly, or you slowly build recognition and brand recognition into the minds of the buyers, right? And I did not have the one-hit wonder random patented piece, or just the one skirt that everybody had to have for one season. And started off organically, which is great. Had it been that, I would have probably failed with a big hit at the beginning, because I wouldn't have had everything in place to support the production and the staffing and the shipping and the whatever, right? So growing organically has always been how I wanted to move this forward. As things increase, I can slowly build the business and learn as I go.
I want to go back a second there. You said that if you'd had the one-hit wonder, or not the one-hit wonder, sorry. If you'd had the one big hit, you might have failed at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
It scared me, actually, because I'm like, if I have something that goes so well, right? All of a sudden, let's say somebody wants to buy 1,000 pieces of this one top. Well, first of all, I'd have to be able to afford the 1,000 yards of fabric with a shirt, right? My factories that I work with now can't do 1,000 pieces. They're not set up for that. They're still catering to a much smaller brand. So now I have to go find a manufacturer to produce it. It may be my first time ever working with them, right? And all of this has to be financed. And if you don't deliver on a big order on time, or actually before on time, they have the right to decline your order. So you could have it all done. You show up a day late. They'll say, a day late, here's your 1,000 pieces of tops back. Good luck.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
So it can be really, this can be really tough. The big buyers, you have to have it labeled with the shipping label in a certain corner, and has to have the name of the order in another corner. And if it's not exactly how they want it, they could turn it away. So you have to have all these things figured out. And there's vendors to help you, right? Even just trying to get tags printed with the code that you need to have on the shipping tag, all these different things. There's vendors who help you do this. But had I gotten that one, I'd have been drinking from a fire hose, and I would still be working with maybe even my home sewers. When I first started, I just did home sewers. A home sewer. I didn't have the network yet with a production. I would have failed. I would end up with 1,000 units of this really great whatever. And I'd still be selling them for $5 a piece or something, trying to get rid of them. So yeah, going big quick can be really tough, especially when you're new to the industry.
Oh, sure. We oftentimes, or people talk about, I want to be a hit. I want to make it big right now, and not realizing that there could be some downside to that type of success. So you said you've maintained your day job, because of funding, trying to finance what you're trying to do and your organic growth that you're having success with. When do you have time to do your passion? When do you have time to chase this dream?
Well, that happens when I get home from work and until I go to bed, or on the weekends, and then, life gets in the way. It gets tough. It's not easy, for sure. And, I got to perform well at work. Otherwise, I don't have a job to pay the bills. So it gets tough. There's definitely a roller coaster. You can go through some kind of down weeks where you're just working and things aren't going, and you get one high, one press release or one order or one thing, and it makes it all worth it. It kind of gives you energy to keep moving forward. But it's not easy, but I wouldn't be able to be here if I wasn't doing it. I had to, pick one over the other a long time ago. Well, actually, I had to keep working because then I would not have maybe the money to live on.
Right. Interesting. That's great. So all this combined, what's been some of the hardest aspects of trying to move forward? I talked about obstacles, but just, do you ever hit those points where you're questioning what you're doing or no?
Oh, for sure. You definitely do. That's where community is helpful. So back to the friends I met in the competition years ago, they're still all doing it somehow. So having other people who are somehow, they're in a different cycle of that roller coaster ride than you are, so they can help you see the light, or just actually listen to the entrepreneurial self-help books. So on my way to work, I'm listening to self-help books. So it'd be like, entrepreneur, go, go, go. You can do this. What are you running into, or how to think about it, or it's okay, you're down because you're going to go up.
Which in itself is sort of a community, because you realize if this is a self-help book for entrepreneurs, that it's not just you struggling with some of the same issues other people are struggling with. You're in this together with other entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah, and podcasts are great for that too, because there's some great entrepreneurial podcasts out there that I like that they get on and share. I'm like, oh, I'm not alone. And oh, they're still succeeding. Like, oh, I can't give up now. Somebody else is succeeding. They're ahead of where I'm at. I can do this.
There you go. I like that. What's been the biggest surprise thus far on the journey?
Biggest surprise is I'm still this far along. But in terms of, I guess the biggest surprise, really is I surprised myself, I think, in that I've come this far and I've figured out how to make it and have scrapped it along and have been as resourceful. I didn't I didn't know the tenacity that maybe I do on this. So maybe it's just more self-reflection and self-awareness of what I'm capable of as maybe being my biggest surprise. The industry surprises me always because it's ever-changing and very unique in itself. But yeah, I think it's, personal growth more than anything that surprised me in this.
That's kind of a nice surprise to have, I think, no?
It is a nice surprise. It is. Although it's maybe scary, but it's a good surprise. It's, I guess, part of being wiser as you go through the journey of life.
That's great. So, do you have any advice that you'd like to share with others who are trying to pursue their dreams?
One thing that's helped me make it through this, and anybody who's trying to pursue their dream, there's unexpected obstacles that come up along the way. And just biting off what you can get done in one day sometimes is all you should expect of yourself to get through. If you can do that, that's a big deal. Because if you get wrapped up in just thinking about the big picture and how you may never get there or you'll get there, it can be daunting.
Right.
And if you just kind of like eating, they always say like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? You don't like try to eat the whole elephant at once. So it's the same kind of thing, not that I would eat an elephant, but just take it day by day. I mean, you have a big dream. You kind of know where you want to be, so you're kind of moving your business towards that. But if you were to look at all the issues you're going to deal with between there and this one concept of where you want the business to be at a certain point in time, it's overwhelming. And so really it is like a day by day. You have, a 6-month goal or a year goal, and then every day you just kind of say, okay, what one thing can I get done today? And before you know it, something's going to, an obstacle's going to come your way, and you're going to figure out how to approach it, attack it, and then you keep moving forward. So it's kind of a goal, but then it's just little bites. Well, at least for me, it probably exploded a long time ago had I thought I'd have to work through all these issues.
I think it's valuable because we oftentimes put so much pressure on ourselves to achieve and move things forward. And sometimes it is just taking one step today instead of a big leap. But you talked about the persistence, you talked about believing in yourself and keep moving forward and learning as you go. And I'm sure, as you said, some days you make bigger steps than others, and other days you just get through the day.
Right. Yep. That's it.
That's great. Stephanie, this has been great. Really appreciate your time today. I want to share with the listeners that your website is stephanieodesigns.com, right?
Correct.
Perfect. And Stephanie, thanks again for your time. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Dennis. Great to connect. I'm glad I could share my story, and hopefully it inspires somebody out there to keep moving forward with their dreams.
It's a great story. And again, I appreciate it very much. I'm Dennis Hodges. Dream, believe, do. Hey, before you go, if you'd like a transcript of this podcast, please go to dreambelieve.do. Also, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to write me at dennis@dreambelieve.do, or you can leave comments on our website in the blog or contact areas. Finally, please follow us on social media, on Facebook at facebook.com/dreambelievedo lifestyle, and on Twitter where I'm @Dennis Hodges. Thanks.